Hi guys, welcome back to the Mother to Mother podcast. Oh, sorry, that's not the name. I do this on every interview, sorry. Hey guys, welcome back to the Mother to Mother podcast. Today we have a special guest, someone who's very close to my heart, Ashley. Now, she does a lot of content over different social media platforms about homeschooling. And so today we're going to be talking about homeschooling. We're going to dive into a little bit about faith in motherhood and overall just understanding your journey and any tips and advice that you have for women. So Ashley, welcome.
Hi, happy to be here. Really excited.
So glad to have you. So can you start by introducing yourself and telling us a bit more about yourself?
Okay, so I'm Ashley. I'm a mummy of one for now. My daughter's 4, and I've been married for 5 years. We're homeschooling, home educating family, and yeah, I love God. Yeah,
That's amazing. I love how you put the for now.
yeah.
We'll
For
be
now, I
waiting.
want
We'll be
7. I
waiting.
used to want 7, but yeah, the compromise is now apparently 4. But I'm working on it.
How many siblings do you have?
I only have 3. Like, there's 3 of us, so 2 siblings, but
Oh,
I want lots of kids.
so what made you want 7, girl?
Do you know what? I think it would be so because I'm small, so I'm just under 5 foot. I would love like loads of kids like towering over me. I just think it would be it just gives the perfect aesthetic. Like
To
small
be
mom
fair,
with lots of
I,
kids.
I feel like I can imagine you being like a gogo with like
Yeah,
14
yeah,
grandkids.
yeah,
For those
yeah,
who don't know, gogo means grandma in
yeah.
Shona.
I've
So
even planned my go-go hairstyle. I can't lie.
can
Like
you stop?
I want a cute little bob, like all grey. Like that's the like aesthetic, babe.
The thing is, yeah, when you graduate to gogo level, either you need a dooku full time,
Yeah,
there's no bobs,
yeah,
dooku, a head
true.
wrap, or you need a bad wig. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear it. I hear it. But it's got to be
Okay.
grey. It's got to be grey.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Let me not say that I made my mother a grandmother too young, so she's gonna be like, "Excuse me."
Yeah, my mom still thinks she's a city girl, but hey.
Winning. Okay, so talk to us about your motherhood journey and when you became a mom, what your thought process was and everything like this.
Do you know what? Every time I think about like when I first became a mum, I'm always like, wow, I was really going through it. But I got married when I was 20, and then we'd been married for 5 months, and
Mhm.
then I got pregnant with Zaz. Well, we got pregnant, whatever. And it was a shock for us because we had like a whole 5 year plan. Like we were really happy to just like me and my husband, it be us
Yeah.
two. Like kids was just if it happens. To the point where like when I had Zaz, my whole family was shocked because I wasn't even a maternal person. Like I was
Mm.
just quite, I don't know, just not maternal. So when we found out, we didn't talk about it for 2 days. Firstly, we just looked at the test and we just carried on like
Went
we're
on
like
about.
yeah, like that is not this is not real. And
Mhm.
then yeah, it became quite real because I had hyperemesis for 8 months, so that was really hard.
What's that?
So when you're excessive vomiting, so I'd vomit like up to 30 times a day. I lost 12
Mm.
kgs by the time I had Isaiah, and I'm quite like petite, so I think I was like 42 kgs when I gave birth, and
Wow.
obviously she was 7, so it was a lot. And we'd have to go to the hospital and stuff. But yeah, so I became quite a young mum very early. Already within my friendship group, like I was the first to get married, and then it's now like the first to be a mum. Whereas like when you're just if it's just us two
Mm.
married, not a lot changes, but it's just you just care for each other. It's not a whole life. So
Yeah.
it was a lot, and I really, really struggled. Posting online was probably a way to kind of get me out of bed. Otherwise, I would have just stayed in bed. And like, I remember I used to post loads of activities and I got really creative. But looking back, I know that it was just a way for me to like, one, gain community because we used to live like in the South, and like most of my friends were in the Midlands. So I
Mm.
was quite alone. And it was really hard to navigate, like freshly married, like new mom. Yeah, we were going through it.
I really appreciate you being so vulnerable because just to tell you, I never knew. Like,
Yeah.
you know, when I say I never knew as if like you're gonna tell
Mm.
me or something, but when I used to like watch your stuff, I remember saying to my partner, like, I wish I had her life. Like, she got
Bye.
married. She got married. She has a baby. She's so happy. Like, not to say that you weren't happy,
Mm.
but it's like you couldn't tell that, okay, motherhood was actually a process, like a journey that
Yeah.
you were getting used to.
Yeah, it was really
That
hard.
says something about your content creation skills though, doesn't it?
Do you know what? I also think that like people have a perception of the content that you put out, even if you try and be really vulnerable. So like I think
Oh,
there was
true.
times even when I would be like, guys, I'm really struggling, or I'm finding this really hard, or I'm going through therapy. But I don't think as a consumer, you take it like as in this person's going through it.
You
You're just seeing
don't.
it through like rose tinted glasses.
It's like when you watch on a TV show, someone goes to therapy, you're like, oh, they just went to therapy. Like you don't actually
Yeah,
realize what
yeah.
it takes for someone to say, okay, I'm
Do
actually
that.
gonna go get help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was really hard, and I think, yeah, I think also I've come to the realization that two things can coexist. Like I was extremely happy to be, well, I wouldn't say I was extremely happy to be a new mom. I was
Mm.
extremely happy that obviously we're married, we're starting a new life, blah blah blah. But I was also really struggling, and I don't like nowadays. I don't have to be one set emotion. Like
Yes.
I can be really happy and blessed and thankful, but I can also be like, this is really hard, and I don't. I can't see the like I can't see the
Mm.
light, Lord.
That's the joy of the Lord, though, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think looking back, I don't even look at the pictures. I actually don't look at the pictures of
Right.
pregnant even now, because I was so like I was bones.
Mm.
And when I look back, I really struggle to,
Hard to look at.
yeah. But I did do like the birth and reflections which the NHS offered to kind of process your emotions, and then eventually I ended up having therapy, because having Zaz really, I think, broke me apart, as in
Mm.
I had to deal with myself. So yeah, it's all of that. Like when you're a new mum, you're going through it.
Yeah.
Going through
So
it.
I'm guessing that was the postpartum depression.
Yeah, I no,
Yeah.
actually I think I had postpartum rage.
Ooh, I haven't heard about
Yeah.
that. Okay.
So I would feel gushes of like anger. Like
Mm.
let's say if Keith was 2 minutes late, to me it felt like
Yeah.
he was 150 minutes late. Like
Save my boy.
the anger I would feel, it was
Mm.
un unfathomable. Like it was just not real. But in that moment, it was the realest thing ever. And I don't think a lot of people speak about that. So we
Mm.
had a lot of arguments, well, yeah, they were arguments. They weren't even disagreements, but they
Yeah.
were arguments. And it wasn't even because there was anything wrong with us. It was just that I had rage, like
Mm.
rage. And it was never towards Isaiah, but it was to Keith mostly. And I think
Yeah.
it's that whole, his life his life did change, I can't lie, but it didn't change
It's
to the
not the same,
capacity.
though, is it?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
are your boobies spraying? Okay,
I remember
because
I remember saying to back in the day. Well, I think I still say it sometimes when I really want something. I'm like, you did this to me.
yeah,
Look at me, you
because
did this to me.
you're not the same. So yeah, I had really bad rage, and also the rage was also, I guess, the things that were surfacing from my past, my
Mm.
childhood, and just things that were unresolved, and they manifested themselves in rage. And then that's when I started being like, nah, I need therapy. Like this ain't gonna look good in the long term. Like I
That's
really didn't
true.
want to be a shouty mom. Like that's one
Mm.
thing I didn't want to be, is just da, 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 da. But I was that way. I hadn't been equipped with the tools to not be that way. So what,
Yeah.
I couldn't expect anything less of myself. Do you know what I mean? Anything
Mm.
more of myself, sorry. So yeah, I had lots of rage.
That's
Bad
a good
rage.
that's a good point. That you're saying some of the stuff you realize it came up from your childhood. Last week I spoke to um a lady named Olivia. She
Mhm,
does like healing motherhood, like
mhm.
healing in motherhood. And we spoke a lot about how the past gets so triggered when you have a kid. And it's like you don't actually think that because you see your kids as your future, but you don't see them as triggering your past, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
So how
think,
do you think that came up for you?
girl, it.
Not girl.
I was literally like, I was hyper vigilant, like super
Mm.
hyper vigilant. Like nobody can be left with desire. Like nobody. I don't care if you're my mom, my mother-in-law. No one can stay with my child. I didn't leave Isaiah until he was 18 months.
Wow.
That's quite long if you think about it. In this, like obviously I was breastfeeding her, but I wouldn't leave her. Like, I need to see my child at every moment. And I think that came from like really wanting to protect her. Um, being aware of like how our culture can sometimes, let me sit with it.
Yeah, the right words. Because you know the Zimbos, they'll be putting you online, blasting you after
You know,
this.
our culture can really ignore
Red flags.
red flags and just bad things like,
Mm.
you know. And I really struggled with like trying to be, I guess, a morora, a new wife, and what that looks like, my own boundaries. Yeah, so I was very hyper vigilant, and just didn't want to leave her. And I think that came from wanting to protect her from me feeling not protected before.
Mm.
um yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You go as far as you like.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, yeah, it's good to talk about. Like, you know, I've not actually spoke about it outside of therapy, but I think, I think my parents did absolutely everything they could in with what they had, but yeah, yeah, I, yeah, it's a lot. It's a
It
lot
is a
to
lot.
unpack. Yeah, um,
Yeah.
you know, there's certain things in our culture, like, you know, sitting on like people's laps, you know, being called a wife when you're a young person, you know, like all of those kind of things.
By
I
uncles and cousins and
Yeah.
grandfathers. Yeah.
And also just little things like in our house, we ask for consent is a really big thing. So, Zazie, can I change you? Can I wash? You know, we use normal words like vagina and penis because I think they're very important. But like, I will ask her even whilst I'm giving her a bath because, you know, I think for me, I really want to equip my children for the world. Like, I can shield them, but they need to have the tools to navigate the world. And, you know, consent isn't really spoken about in our culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's a child, you know, you're not going to want to do anything bad to them, but it's like they still can. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what you're talking about, girl, respect for saying it, because I don't think a lot of Zimbabweans, especially because we're both Zimbabweans, um, talk about how our culture can be a bit interesting in
Yeah.
certain times. And that's not to down it or dog or anything, because I absolutely love it. But I think that sometimes there is a big overstepping on boundaries,
Yeah.
and children don't get really listened to. And I realized that for a lot of Zimbabweans, well, I won't say every, I don't want to use those types of terms, but I realized a lot of people experience a certain type of sexual abuse. I'm not projecting onto you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I know that's what I had experienced.
Mm.
And that's what made me, when I had my daughter, I was like, nobody call this woman your wife.
Yeah.
Nobody, I don't want to hear it,
Yeah.
because all those things felt a bit triggering to me.
Yeah.
Like, clearly y'all didn't know how to act, so
Yeah. Yeah.
we can't use those terms anymore. But I think that if like our new generation continues to say, okay, we like our culture, but we're kind of shifting it to make
Yeah.
it, so we're not changing it, we're not
Mm.
throwing it away, but we're just shifting it to make sure everyone is okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
And also, you know, like when, I don't know if you have this, but when your parents are like, you're being too British or whatever, one thing is
Yes.
like, I'm here. Like, my identity, yes, is Zimbabwean, whatever, but I'm also here. Like, I grew up here. I came here when I was 3. Again, two things can coexist. You know what I mean? Like, I can't ignore the fact that I was like literally raised here. You know, it doesn't mean that I deny my identity. And I think that was another thing to navigate is, who am I? When I became a mom, it was like, who is this girl? Like, you know, and I'm actually okay. Like, but 4 years into motherhood, this is the most confident I've ever been in
For real.
terms of, yeah. And I didn't even start feeling like a woman until last year, and that was when I was 24. So even having
Wow.
anxiety didn't make me feel like a woman. So it was a lot of work. I think it was that inner work that made me, you know, be okay with who I am and not who I've been told I am.
So what does that feel like? Okay, let's
I feel
compare it.
liberated, baby.
Feel confident.
Yeah.
Let's compare it to we'd say 21-year-old new mom, new wife, the epitome of womanhood, to be honest. let's compare her to who you are today. What makes you feel like a woman now that you didn't feel back then?
I know my boundaries. I can
Mm,
identify when I'm overstretching myself and it's me doing things to please. Like, I'm no longer that much of a people pleaser. Like, I'm very confident with this is how I like my life. This is what I want to do. If I don't want to do it, just know I'm not going to do it. Whereas before, I was,
I remember that time I was like, "Can I call you Ash?" You're like, "My name is Ashley."
yeah,
Okay.
like little things like that. And you know what? I'm so okay with people calling me extra now because I
Yeah.
am extra. And I think it's extra to them, not because I am extra, because a lot of people just do what other people want them to do. It's
Yes.
extra because people are not used to someone saying, do you know what? No, I actually don't want that, or I do want that. And I'm okay with the type of mum I am. I might not be the bake from scratch mum, but I'm definitely the arts and crafts mum. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with the type of mum I am. And also knowing I'm very confident that I'm fully equipped to raise a Zaya. That doesn't mean I know everything, but it means that I will put in the work to do that. I'm not just
Yes.
going to be passive and just be like, it is what it is. Like, no, I can learn. I can learn. But old Ashley, definitely a people pleaser.
Mm.
Um, I used to get really offended when people used to call me extra. Like, that used to really bother me. Um, and yeah, I wouldn't really voice, even though I'm quite vocal anyway, I wouldn't really actually voice my inner thoughts of being uncomfortable about something. Whereas now it's like, that's not right. Like, if it's not right, just know,
It's not right.
look, it's not right. But I think motherhood taught me to be a good advocate because I have to advocate for
No,
Isaiah.
you have to. You have
Yeah,
to. You
yeah,
have to.
yeah.
Okay. So that's more like I would say in a nutshell, empowerment.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, you felt more empowered,
Empowered.
right?
Yeah,
And that's what made you like a woman. Do
yeah.
you feel like any of those changes came through like aesthetics, or was it all just inside?
What do you mean by aesthetics?
Like, was it okay, now my body looks like this, I feel more like a woman, or
Oh, do you know what? That is good because now, because I'm 25, yeah, I feel like I've really come into my body because I'm not a,
Mm,
I think I'm quite I'm not slim, but I'm not like I think I'm like medium. Like, I'm a
okay.
medium babe, but I used to not really like my body. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And now I'm just okay with it. Like, I'm gonna eat the donut because do you know what I mean? Like, I'm actually just
Yeah.
okay with my body. And I don't know, can we go TMI?
Well, it's meant to be for mothers, so
I
cheers.
feel like the more confident I've got in my body, the better my sex life is. And the
For
better my sex
real.
life is, the more confident I feel.
Mm.
So I feel very sensual. Like, I feel quite, oh, I don't know how to explain it.
Sorry, it's the Wi-Fi is the devil
Is
is a
it me?
liar. It's getting good.
No, I
Wi-Fi
don't
wants
think
to act up.
is it me? Oh, am I?
Um,
Oh, it's my battery, I think. Can you pause? Oh, sorry.
no, don't worry. Just connect it. I'll edit it afterwards. Just
Can I?
connect your
Is that
battery.
okay?
No,
Sorry.
no, that's fine.
Let me just
It's
grab it.
okay.
I didn't even look. Sorry about that, babe. I should have.
No, it's all right.
Well, okay. They'll be like, they edited out the good stuff.
Okay,
No.
yeah. So
Cool.
yeah, that's much better now.
Okay.
So you're saying the confidence upgraded your love making.
Yes, and I just feel more sensual. Like, I make effort for myself. Oh, that's it. So, you know, when I first got married, I had a perception of like what being a wife was, and like, you know, from our culture. And I thought Keith wanted this type of woman, but really, I just needed to do what was good for my home and
Mm.
become my own like mama, if you like, mama. So that's what I did, and yeah, I just put more effort in working at that and kind of shutting out the noise. But yeah, I'm
No,
more sensual for myself before, you know, the main course. So,
yes.
you know,
I
like,
feel like so
yeah.
is that like the whole self-care stuff, the whole wearing matching panties?
Yes.
That made me
Let
feel
me
so
tell you,
good.
yes. And you know what? Getting a nighttime scent, like, obviously, if you
Ooh,
don't want to do a nighttime scent, that's fine, but you could get like some nice essential oils. Let me tell you.
upgraded.
Yeah.
I saw I saw Jackie Aina talking about that. I think it was on TikTok or something because she wears perfume to sleep. She wears it
Yeah.
the girl is extra. So I think I bought some Victoria's Secret, some mist or
Mm.
something, and I used to put it on my blanket. I was like, oh my god, this is how the rich live.
It
This is
elevates
this
your
is kind of
experience.
nice.
Yeah. And
It
if you get to
is.
do it for yourself, and like before, if I did something, I'd want Tafaza to be like, oh yeah, I call him both names. Keith
Yeah.
Tafaza, yeah. I would what's it called? Yeah, I would want him to be like, oh babe, but no, it's just like it's for me first. And then
Mm,
it overspills into whether he appreciates it or not.
yeah.
So yeah, whereas before I would be again seeking that constant validation,
Yeah.
which is draining. Like it's really draining.
I
It's really
think, yeah,
draining.
you're right. Like coming into womanhood is a lot of self-acceptance. There's a
Yes.
lot of self-love, but I don't think it's just self-love in terms of like caring about, I don't know, pampering.
Yeah.
I spoke about this last week too. It's also about self-discipline and like choosing what's right for you and being also, like you said, kind of like a mum to yourself,
Yeah.
right?
And you
Because
know,
go
sorry.
ahead.
And you know, on
No,
the discipline thing, one
mm,
thing else is I learned to trust myself. So if I say I'm going to do something, I have to do it because
yes.
if you don't do it, then you're basically constantly lying to yourself, and then you don't
Mm,
believe yourself, if that makes sense. So I started to
yeah.
say, if I say I'm going to wake up at 5, I'm going to wake up at 5, and I would actually follow through. So I think all of those little
Yes.
things like help you be more okay with who you are. And then the final thing I would say is being okay. Like say if mother's like, oh babe, I need you to work on, you know, the way you speak to me and the way you plan stuff. I can be like, do you know what? Right now, I have the capacity to work on this, but we might have to put that on the back burner.
Mm,
Let me perfect this, and then I'll get to that. I think being setting expectations is really, really good, and that's helped me as well. Perfect something, then move on to the next. Otherwise, how
just gonna crash.
yeah, you will crash and you will burn.
So how has it been like not taking on people's expectations of you as gospel? Because obviously we're going to transition to this shortly, but with homeschooling, I'm sure people have things to say, honey. You can't lie to me and say that your parents and cousins are all like, yeah, Ashley, you're doing amazing, because
Yeah.
I know people love the public school system. They
Yeah,
would
they
they
do.
would they
Do you know,
would
I
die
think
for
people
it.
love the system. I think people
Yes.
love a system. So, you know, if you're doing the opposite, just know you're going to get some kind of backlash.
Mm.
One, I think my family think I'm a hippie. I don't know why, but they just think I'm a hippie doing my own thing. So at this point, they're just like, there she goes again.
Yeah.
But we were quite intentional about bringing them on board. But again, me and Keith, we've established our family values. We know exactly what we believe that the Lord wants for our family. And you know what? Sometimes you might miss the train. Like, and I'm
Mm.
okay with people not being on our train. Like, I don't need 150 people to be like, go, go, go. We have our select amount of people that cheer us on and that want to support us. And those that want to side eye or look from the side or will join the train later. Honestly, that's fine. What I'm not okay with is if you then try and speak to Isaiah about that. Does that make sense? So, like, don't
Mm.
undermine our parenting or our choices in front of her or say anything because I will address you, whether you're 78, 81, whatever you're
One thing about
doing.
Ashley is
One
she
thing
will
about me,
address
yes,
you.
what exactly. And I can't. And like, we've had so many conversations about respect, and it's like, I can respect you, but if you're wrong, like,
Yeah, old school respect is I'm wrong, don't tell me. New
exactly.
school respect is you're wrong, I'm gonna tell you with a smile.
Yes. And
You know what I
also,
mean?
like, I think it's that transition, isn't it? Like, I'm the parent, you are a what, like, whatever role you play in her life.
Mhm, mhm.
So there has to be that also that respect of, you know, stay in your lane, like in a respectful way. But if I'm honest, like, we sat down our parents, and we told them like quite early, and we're like, this is what they want to do. I think they thought it was a phase initially,
Mm,
but you know, it definitely is not a phase. Like, even people think that this is we will end up going to school. It's like, no, school's not a choice for us. Like, or state school is not a choice for us.
mhm.
If it was, it would definitely be a private school. But again, that comes with like thinking of finances and all of that stuff. And for us, homeschooling is our lifestyle. Yeah. So I just think people think it's like, oh, they're just doing it for now, and then, but it's like, no, this is the choice. It's like homeschool or not. But
So
they've
it
been
was
really supportive.
it was a decision you made, you and your husband, or it was something that you were told by God,
So
and
I
then
was
you had the
told,
conversation.
yeah. Okay, so let me go back. We had Isaiah, and when we had
Mm,
Isaiah, I remember being at the hospital, and I had a really traumatic birth. But I remember being told three specific instructions about her life, and one of those was about, yeah, I had three specific instructions about her life, and then one of them was homeschooling, and I
mhm.
was just like, what's that?
Yeah. You thought
Let's
you
allow,
were,
yeah, let's allow that.
yeah.
So I wrote it down, but I was like, yeah, we'll see. And then I just said it. So this is how I present things to Keith. So I'm like, babe, I feel like this is what the Lord has put on my heart. You go pray about it. You let me know what he says.
Mm,
I don't try and like, what's the word? Manipulate the situation or try and, no, you're the head of like this, because we have traditional roles. So he's the head of the home. So
mhm.
my understanding is, and I can be corrected, is I will present to you what the Lord is saying to me. You now go back to the Lord and you ask him and you do what you need to do and
Your
hash it out with the Lord.
confirmation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't do that and says no, that's on him.
It's not my problem. Yeah.
Because I've done my bit.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
And we never want there to be like conflict in terms of like, things of the Lord. Like you want an easy ride. Yeah. So I just said so we've agreed that's how we do it. So he went, he was just like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know. He literally didn't know. He prayed, he felt at peace. So
Hmm.
he said he felt at peace. And then he was just like, okay, cool. And then I started doing what I do best, researching, like Facebook, all kinds of things, YouTube videos. So when I saw one, I would just send it his way and he would keep praying about it. He'd keep praying about it. Then I started meeting like other mums that were homeschooling. And then then they were hosting like a big family thing where there was like dad's going to be there. And I was like, do you know what? Book the day off, babe. Let's go. Let's
Mm.
go have a look. You can meet other dads there that will give you a different perspective. And then we went to like a homeschool group meetup. And he met other dads who felt exactly the way he did, other dads that were also believers that like if you saw them, they would, not that there's a believer's look, but I don't know.
We know there's a
Yeah, there's a believer's
believers
look.
look.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then he was like, "Oh, raw, babe, like, raw." And another thing, I don't know if this like helped him, but a lot of the homeschoolers that were in our area, the parents had been private schooled, so they had
Okay.
come from a private school background and then choosing to homeschool. Because remember, I said that our other option would have been private
Private
school.
school. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were just like, in our culture, private school is like the
The creme
creme
de
de
la
la creme.
creme.
Yeah. So I was like,
Yeah.
how does this make sense? So then obviously the dad spoke to him about what it was like. Different dads spoke to him about what it was like being in private school, boarding. Some didn't board. And then he was like, do you know what? Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. And COVID happened. Then we started wanting to slow down our life really badly. So we didn't want the fast paced rat race, hamster
Anymore.
wheel vibe. Like we didn't want that. We wanted to be present. Like Keith's really good. He wants to be a present dad. He wants to be involved in his family. So we were like, definitely need to leave the matrix.
Yeah.
So yes, that's what we did. And then we were like, okay, we're doing this. And we prayed about it. We had like, if I was to tell you the amount of confirmations that came the moment Keith was like, yeah, let's do it. Insane, to the point where
Yeah.
like there was people, because I don't have like a huge following, but I do think my following has great engagement. Like I like
Yeah.
all of my followers engage really well. We had people like in Australia like, hey, can we send you something for Zaz for her homeschool? We had people in our chat like, oh, let's give you this and let's bless you with that. We've just moved house. Opposite us there's a curriculum developer that lives, like, it's insane when I say when your
That's so
footsteps
blessed.
are ordered. It's in it I can't even explain it. Like Zaz, I'm going to be sharing about what curriculums we're going to be using and stuff. People have like said, oh, we'll pay for her horse riding. That's something that we wanted her to do.
Wow.
When Zaza does etiquette, because I'd love her to do etiquette
I
lessons.
just like to tap into the anointing real quick.
It's crazy. Latin. Okay, we'll provide the Latin for her. And I'd written down things that I would love for her to learn. As much as we're going to be child-led, I will say that we are strategic homeschoolers. That's kind of the word that I like. So I'm not an unschooling mom. I'm definitely more of like a strategic homeschooling mom. And it's just crazy. So yeah, I'm so excited. I genuinely couldn't imagine anything else. Like, we can travel, we can do everything we want. I'm not governed by school time, term time. Our homeschool runs around my menstrual cycle. It's just bliss.
That's
Like,
good.
that strife is no longer there. That feeling of guilt when I'm, in my phase when I'm on, I can just be like, Ceci, we're resting. I've catered. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just certain things that I can't explain. I don't know if I'm explaining well.
I think there's something to say about you see how the whole world is moving towards masculine, feminine energy, all this type of stuff.
Yeah, I see
I
it.
like to say I feel like they're going through the back door. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But it's like the way you've done it, God will give you the ability to live in your feminine energy. You know what I mean?
exactly,
Like that's what
exactly,
you're doing right now. You're just relaxing.
exactly.
I won't say you're just relaxing, but I think
I'm
that
in rhythm. I think
you're thank you.
yeah, I'm in rhythm. Obviously, I had to work for a bit for us to. We had to pay off some of our debts because when we had Zaz, I stopped working because of the high premises. So we had to pay off some of our debts. We invested in, well, Keith invested because he's better at that. So we invested to kind of just allow us to be able to do that. But you know, you should be able to work in rhythm with yourself, like, or
Yes.
at least strive to do that. There's more to life than just Monday to Friday and work. And there was a season for that, and that was a long 18 months, and it was so hard. And I think that's where a lot of burnout comes from like when I hear mums, I'm like, but again, I will say that does mean we do forego other things. That doesn't mean that we have absolutely, there is a sacrifice. Might mean we don't get to go on a family holiday this year, and we only get to go one every 2-3 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes it can be presented like, oh, all this. No, it means there is other sacrifices being made.
But do you know what that is?
elsewhere.
But I think that's conscious sacrificing though.
Yeah.
Because I think that the way we're all raised is like you said, everything has a sacrifice, but it's almost like we're told what to sacrifice.
Yeah.
So mothers are kind of told, oh, you should sacrifice having the extra time with your child so bills can be paid or so you can go on holiday. But it's like taking that choice to say, is holiday worth it, or is that extra line with little Timmy worth it? And I feel like either one is fine. But did you make the decision?
The choice, that's the key.
Yeah.
I feel like now, and maybe that has helped to make me feel more of a woman, being in my rhythm. Like, if you, and you know what, when you asked that question, I was like, oh yeah, and actually being in your rhythm is so underrated. Like, I have been learning about all of that now. Like, I didn't even know all of that stuff
And eating
before.
for your rhythm and everything.
Yeah.
Last week I was talking to Wham, because we like to talk about like hormones and supplements and health and this type of stuff. So I was doing some research. We have this guy that we both watch. I think it's human something. He does psychology of sleep. Yeah, I'll send you a link. He's really good. But there was one thing that he was talking about where it was like, in terms of testosterone, right? That's the thing that makes you want to wake up and take on the world, right?
Yeah.
So when men wake up every morning, they get a surge of testosterone.
Yeah.
But women only get that once a week. So it's
that's when you feel like you can take over and that's when I jam
for
pack.
1 week you can do everything.
Exactly. And that's when I jam pack all of the stuff with Zaz, like going here, doing this, doing that, doing it, because then I don't feel guilty on the times I can't. And I'm even a daughter. I want her to be okay. That rest is good. Rest, girl. You gotta rest. Not feel for like. Do you know what I mean? That's my makeup. That's how I am. And I used to feel so unproductive. I used to think I'm unproductive in life, and it's like, you're not unproductive. That's just your rhythm,
I think
sis.
it's also how you were raised though. Like if you, because
Mm,
my mom was very like work, 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 gotta get that money. She
mm.
is, if you look at Boss Babe, her face is there. Christine's face is right there.
Yeah.
Right. And that made me very much wake up at 5, go to
Mm,
sleep at 9, da, 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 like, and like you're saying, to me, that never really made me feel quite womanly.
yeah.
Even though you work really hard to get the weave, to get the nails, you still
Yeah.
don't feel. But when I
Womanly.
started doing when I started working for myself and doing these
Mm,
things, and for Alicia, she still goes to nursery, but she goes in
mhm.
the afternoon. We do slow mornings, which
Yes.
means you wake up when your body wakes up.
Yes. I love a slow morning.
Oh,
Yeah.
honestly, starting your day off like that is actually, it's so peaceful.
It's so peaceful. Yeah.
Like the alarm actually does not have to give you a
Yeah.
heart attack every morning.
Yeah. And I think there's room, like there's definitely room for both, but I think it is again understanding that we do have a different makeup. And I was even saying, that testosterone hit, when you get it,
Mm.
you're unstoppable. Like ga 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 ga. So imagine we can do everything in 1 week. In 1 week.
Girl, we actually kill it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing though, if you're forcing your body to do that all the rest of the time, that's
That's
crazy.
me batch recording content in that 1 week. I'm telling you. I jump packed.
Yeah.
Because
I never thought about like that's what I do too,
yeah,
huh?
because when you're like I get that creative buzz in that time.
That's
Otherwise, I'm
fair.
just like, Lord. Obviously, you have to do it sometimes, and you will, but it's
Yeah.
like it's harder. Like you have to kind of push yourself, and yeah. And Atomic Habits did help me as well. The book,
Oh
systems
yeah.
systems over motivation. I hear it, but was that not written by a man?
No, it's true, it's true. So how do you fit in this and what you've learned now into your homeschooling? Because I think I'm not necessarily a homeschooler. I've been talking to you for ages, like I'm teetering, I may jump, but
I'm trying to force everybody to jump with my content.
you you are. Um, I think because you have a girl, maybe I'm assuming that some of your stuff will be catered to the fact that she's a girl, or are you kind of doing the gender neutral? I don't know where you are.
Oh, no. What do you mean by gender neutral?
Like, is your curriculum gender neutral? Like,
Okay,
would you
so
give her the same thing that you would give your son? Of course, like A, B, C, D, stuff like
ooh,
that. That's
okay,
different.
that's a
I
good
mean, the way
question.
you're teaching her to live, would you teach her to live the same way you teach your son to live?
I think our homeschool would run around my cycle. I think it's important for my sons to know, a woman, like how a woman operates. Even we have a family meeting every week, and
Mm.
my husband knows where I am in my cycle. And he didn't even know that before. And again, that caused us to work not in harmony with one another, because he would be. So the days when I need more loving, he now knows on a Sunday that sis isn't a different phase. Do you
She
know what I
may
mean?
explode today.
Yeah. Or he
Mm.
needs to pick up more stuff within the home. Do you know what I mean? And
Mm.
so I think, yeah, I would definitely run it like that regardless. But like I said, I'm a strategic homeschooler. So me and Keith want our children to leave the home with a trade, whether you're a boy or girl. You need to know how to use your hands. That's really important.
Mhm.
Before they leave the house, they need to be able to set up some kind of business, whether it's you sell lemonade at church. We need to go through the whole process of being able to start one from the start to the end and whatever. So that's
Mhm.
really important. That's male or female.
True.
Household duties, I think everybody should know the basics. Like you need to know how to cook, you need to know how to clean. But I will teach Isaiah how to be a homemaker. Like that's I think that's beautiful. I don't think
Mm.
that's like I would never want to shy away from that. Um, as for a son, I've not had one yet, but I want him to be taught how to fight for himself. And even Keith wants his eye to do self defense. But I think that's again, you should know that for yourself. Like you should know how to defend yourself.
Mm.
But one thing I think I will try, I haven't figured it out how, but I did write it down. I would love to teach Isaiah how to speak softly but direct. I don't know how that
Mm.
makes sense,
No,
but
it
like
doesn't make
I'm
sense.
very like I don't want that. Like I've had to learn to speak softly, and that's probably one of the things in my marriage that I'm forever learning how to be
Mm.
soft in my approach or when I say things. So yeah,
Mm.
and one way of thinking of that is etiquette lessons,
Yeah, I
teaching
was
her how to
gonna
be
say,
dainty and
I think she can go to like finishing schools from like six,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just
I'm
those
23. I want to go to a finishing
me
school.
too, me too. But yeah, just little things like that. And my sons, yeah, I think Keith would then kind of foster the whole running a home, managing finances, looking ahead, planning, strategic. Not that Exile won't learn that. I think she would. I think that those are basic things, but
Mm.
really understanding the sense of duty when you have those homemaking roles and also being a leader role. I think it's really important to have to, like, I would love to equip my children to go off into the world to
Mhm.
bless someone else's children and not be a
Yeah.
headache. Do you know what I mean? But
Fact,
we had to
yeah.
learn that. Like we never used to do a family meeting growing up. Like
Mm.
I never knew any of that. My mum is amazing, but you know she came here because like I have my biological father and my stepdad, but I call my stepdad dad, and that is my dad. I don't know the other guy.
Mm.
So you know, she came here as a single mom. She was working, and you know, she did the thing. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't. When I think of homemaking, I don't know if I would necessarily be like homemaker.
Yeah.
Whereas Keith's mom stayed at home, and I see her as like what I would imagine a homemaker to look like.
Mm.
Not that my mum isn't a great homemaker, but do you know what I mean? You can
Yeah.
distinguish. So yeah, I would love to equip Saz with that. My mum thinks I'm a shock because like we're
A
she's like,
shock?
how am I this way? Because I love homemaking. I
Yeah.
absolutely love. I want to learn how to make sourdough bread.
Girl,
Yeah,
you're like
yeah.
right in
I
the
want to try. I want
countryside
to,
type of
yeah,
homemaking.
but I want to be country but bougie.
Okay. I think you'll be the first for me to see someone do it
Yeah,
like
like
that.
I want the farm without the work.
I think they come as a package. No,
Work in progress.
unless you get like servants and stuff, and you're
No,
halfway there.
that's
You
doing the
got a couple
most.
employees.
That's doing the most. That is doing
Guys,
the
check
most.
out her Instagram and her TikTok. Girl, the other day, even Wham was going through your TikTok. He was like, You know, they have a nanny." I said, "I know they have a
You know
nanny.
what? The
I
nanny
know."
thing. I think people. Do you know what? I bet you saw that and thought it's because it's a lot. I
Yeah,
bet that's what you thought. Do you know
100%.
what? It's
Because
not.
there was one video, I think you guys were going to like this lesson. I'm exposing myself for being a stalker.
I love it. I love it. I love it because I stalk you.
Anyway, you were going to your meet up with the other mums, and you were saying like, oh, her car, she had to turn back. I said, is that a Benz? Is that a big body Benz? Okay.
That was the nanny's. That's hers. So you know, she's so
She's
amazing,
making a good
Katie.
buck.
Yeah, she is. And do you know what? I have it like once a week. So
Mm,
I think if you have them full time, they're really like expensive. But yeah, so again, there is that budget for her
mm,
means something else is taken away. So for example, like we only just got a new car, but before that, I think I'm rubbish at cars, but we were driving a is it a VW Polo?
okay.
So Keith sold his car 2 years ago. So he used to have a BMW. Sold that. We got an '04 plate VW, and we were just
Okay.
been chilling in that. Only now has he got a new car, but that's like what 2.5 years of like a really small car. So yeah, I think you have to kind of pick
Give some, take some.
what's more important to you. I think I would love to portray more of like the real stuff, but I also think that people aren't ready for it.
Yeah. I don't know. It to be fair, it will change your audience space
Do you
for
think?
sure. Um, because some people like to watch mothers be in a fantasy world.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, they like that feel good thing of, oh, motherhood cute, but they don't like the other stuff.
yeah. I
You know what I
agree.
mean?
Yeah,
So like I know when I've seen some people get more into like, oh guys, this is my third child, I'm really depressed. Their viewers go down.
literally, yeah.
And it's
But I
like,
was
oh, that's
thinking of
sad.
the way to be a bit more authentic is maybe start like a mail list where I do like a diary of how my week's been. Because I do think it's one thing to add value, but you do want to be authentic and you do want to be real. But again, so going back, the boundaries thing. So when I was going through it, at my old church, one of the pastors, she was just like, you need to know what's okay to share and what's not. So now I'm actually okay to just show the good stuff. And then I have, not that it's bad, but I have my other stuff, which I have people who I go to and they really pour into me. Because people online, what are they pouring?
That's true.
They're not actually pouring into me. They're enjoying my content, which I love, and they're engaging with me, and I'm doing whatever I am, inspiring whatever. But it's like I don't want to be at the detriment of me. Like I don't want it to be at the detriment of me. So I am quite wary about that.
I think that's where wisdom comes in, right?
Oh, I hope so. I got grey hair.
Girl.
Look at Grace. I hope so.
Okay, so you've spoken about what led you to homeschooling. And from what I understand, that's more God, like God kind of told you this is your path. So just to clarify, it's not that you actually have anything against the public school system. Okay, let's get into it. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay. You know, because I said I then did my research. Okay. I am.
Then you started to have something against it.
Yeah, I did. I definitely. Okay, I'm not anti. I love teachers. Okay. But again, I'm not going to be doing this whole backtracking thing as well. Did you see my video? I was like, I'm no longer backtracking. I said what I said. But I love teachers.
Yes.
And I think teachers do their best. Not all teachers, we have to be honest. They do the best that they can with what they have. But if we go back to history, I would suggest that people do their own research. But I know people aren't, so I'm going to give it to them. So I'm going in. Why was school made? What was the purpose of the school system?
If you don't mind, I'm just going to mute my mic and enjoy this.
So the school system was obviously made because the people needed to go to work. Okay, so it's basically childcare. Okay, in a nutshell, it's childcare, and the government obviously get funding for each child that goes to school. Okay, so if your child doesn't go to school, what then? It means the government doesn't get funding. And so that's number one. Just let that marinate. Think about the purpose of why school is there. Number two, what makes you think that you as a parent can't educate your children? I'm a firm believer that home education starts from the beginning. Like you teach your child so many things. Children do not need to be in school. What is it? 8 till 3:30, like for a shift. They can learn everything that they need to. I think up until year 3 for about roughly an hour. Everything that they learn at school is about an hour, 2 hours max. School does not socialize. I'm so sorry. School does not socialize kids. I used to go to school and they used to tell me to not talk because we're not here to socialize. That's what they used to say to me. So don't be telling me that you're socializing at school.
It's the fact that I got told the same thing. Yeah, I would still say I'm sending my child to nursery to go get socialized.
I think nursery, to be fair, they do a lot of play. And I guess they are amongst their peers. And, but they're not like sitting down for lessons. But at school, you're sitting down for a lesson. You barely play. Like, how can children not be playing? Like, that is so against their...
Then they'll say you have ADHD. They say you have these. It's like, no, he's just a 4-year-old boy.
Yeah. So
with
also,
energy.
Black children do 71% better when they're homeschooled. No brainer. Why? Why do they do that? Like, because our children are labeled, and then they end up doing the whole self-fulfilling prophecy thing. I'm not having a teacher tell me that my child is bossy. No, she's assertive. That's the word that we want to be using here. Keith always says that God was protecting the teachers from me.
It's true though.
Yeah, it is true. Also, teachers are, I think it's 52% depressed in their job. I think it's like 64%. But I will send you actual stats because I know I've got loads in my head, but I think it's about 64% of them are leaving their jobs due to stress. So if your teacher is in a stress state, what are they giving your child? Who is their child?
They don't get paid enough.
They don't get paid enough. And I'm not, again, that's why I said I don't think it's them, but they have 34 children in a class, depending where you live. They're dealing with children that don't speak English as a first language. They're dealing with children that have, parents that can't, that have different backgrounds. Like there's a lot that they're dealing with that education says that's the last.
And let me just add to joining to what we were talking about before. in that class of 34, there's girls who are just getting onto their first cycles,
Yeah.
whatever, and
And
all of them are in different states of the cycle.
this is probably what's going to shock you the most. And for me, with like my past, this is what just, if God hadn't told me, I'm telling you, this is exactly, I would. There is one sexual assault in a school, one a day for every single day they're at school. So let's say 365 days they're at school, there's one sexual assault a day. A day. And I think sometimes we forget that sexual assault looks like boys groping you, you know, girls in the changing rooms at PE. Like, that is not okay. Like, and you know, teachers are aware of this. This is not information that we're not privy to. Like, this
Yeah.
is everywhere. But nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that, yeah, I think, do you know what? I would appreciate a parent say to me, Ashley, right now, I would rather go to work for the money and forego XYZ and, you know, send my child to school than someone be like, it has to be that way. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
again, who's made that choice for you? And also, are your priorities in the right place? Are you, I know this does sound like judgy, and a lot of people think that homeschooling is a privilege. I think having an educational choice is a privilege, and how you choose to do that is obviously the makeup of your family. But yeah, I don't want to be that judgy.
Go for it. Go for the jugular. You know why?
I
Because
think some people need to really look at their priorities and what they want. I think
yeah.
a lot of adults have grown up and they've, you know, tied themselves to a mortgage that they probably couldn't afford. You couldn't afford that mortgage. Okay. And now you're working to pay off a mortgage that you couldn't afford because you think it's an asset when it's not. It's a liability because it doesn't make you money. Okay. Let's really get to it. Let's really
She
get
took us
down.
to finance class today.
Let's really break it down.
Mm.
Okay. Are you living to keep up with the Joneses? Are your are your finances, because people come down when we talk about homeschooling, it's about the finances that you have. Okay. And people would say, oh, you know, you can afford it because you're a stay-at-home mom, da, 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 da. If I need to get a part-time job, best believe I'll get one, but it will work around my family. And it
Yeah.
might mean foregoing, I don't know, a car payment. We let go of the BMW because this is what was more important to us. You know, we were driving an '04 plate. Okay. You might think, blah, 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 Ashley and Keith. That's fine. You think what you want, but my priorities in check. The
Yeah.
decisions that I've made are my own. And I think I don't know if it's the world, the system, the society has really made parents feel like they don't have a say in the choices that they have with their children. Like
It's bullying, right?
bullying, making people feel like they can't choose, they don't know what's best. Like, you are fully equipped to raise your child. Like, and you know, people will think, oh, Ashley, you're so patient. Definitely not. I'm not patient, but you know, I'm not going to be more patient by sending Isaiah to school. That's
Mm.
not the cure for me becoming a better, more patient parent, is it? No, it's
Yeah.
not. It's me having to learn, you know, get myself some coping mechanisms. And, you know, we moved from the South to the Midlands because it was cheaper here. We had better childcare options in terms of like more hands on family. So
Mm.
we've adjusted our life for what we know our priorities are. A lot of families don't even know what their values are.
Perfect.
Sorry,
Sorry.
sorry.
I hit my book. Okay, perfect. Because he actually wrote down you've made content on values. And like you're saying, it's not conscious living, right? People don't know what their values are. I can put my hands up and say, I really have not written any values. I kind of just say my value is the Bible. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And because of that, I found myself when I was really maybe getting what's that word what the Holy Spirit does? Convicted.
Convicted, yeah.
Yes, I was kind of getting a bit convicted with some of your content.
So
Holy
let's
Spirit
trigger
especially.
them.
No, do you know what? A bit of triggering is good because that's how you know God's there. Because God's not just gonna pat you on the back every
Yeah.
day, right? Sometimes it's a double-edged sword. So here I was getting convicted that like, what do I actually think my role as a mother is? Like, was I made to just birth her? Like, I was talking to my mom and I was like, I birth her, I feed her, I put her to bed,
Yeah.
And that, like, I don't actually know what I'm meant to do after that.
Mhm.
Like, what, like, am I meant to play? Okay, like, I don't have a framework,
Yeah.
right? And therefore, I just think, okay, let me just give her a good life then. Let me go
Mm.
to work. Let me go get a career. That way, when she says, "Mommy, I want to go," I can pay for it.
Yeah.
Mommy, I can pay for it, because our whole framework is that stuff. Like
Mm.
you're saying, people say, okay, I want my kids in a good house.
Mm.
I want my kids in a nice car. I want my kids in the best school. But who are your kids?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if all of that went away, who would your
Mm.
kids be? Who would your family be? Like,
Yeah.
who would you guys be? So talk to me about like your values and how that actually works in
Wow.
homeschool, and more specifically building your family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we obviously base our life on the word of
Mm.
God. And I will say this, that means that our life should be changing. I can't say I base my life on the word of God and then my life is just the same.
Mm.
Okay. Because I'm renewed and I'm constantly learning and changing. So
Come on,
that's
Pastor.
that's bye. That's number one. But number two, so we have three family values. The first one is truth, but for us, the truth is the word of God. So let's say, how can let me
I
think.
may take notes so I can steal this.
Yeah, so truth. So let's say there was a situation and Zaz, okay, I'll give you this one because this was one that I wanted to do. So I want to get my nose pierced, like,
Mm.
because I'm cute and I thought it would look cute. So
Yeah.
let's say Zaz wants to get her nose pierced. I would just be like, what does the word say about that? She'd go, read about it, present her case, and then we'll just decide from there. It would never
Mm.
just be a yes or no based
Mm.
on how we feel. It would go back to what the word says about a specific thing.
Mm.
Then the second one is love. So for us, that is loving ourselves. So again, like I was saying about teaching my children to follow their rhythms and modeling. A lot of my values are based on modeling as well. So like me and Keith really believe in modeling a lot to our children. Children do a lot more what they see than what they hear or what you tell them. So we
Mhm.
believe in modeling. So for us, love looks like loving ourselves, loving each other, just being not intimate, but like lovey-dovey to one another, a kiss, a this, a that, and
Mm.
also loving those around us. So one of the subjects in our homeschool is British Sign Language. You know, there's our community is so diverse. I think it's so important to let our children know that yes, you're God's gift to life, but you're also not God's gift to life. Like there's
Yeah.
more to your world than what you see. And reaching out to our neighbors. So when we moved to this house, we got like me, Sas and Keith went to the shop. We bought some chocolates that she had chosen, and we went to knock on the neighbors' doors to say hello and who we are.
Mm.
So that's an example of loving outwardly ourselves, each other as a unit,
Yeah.
and then our wider community. And that also looks like hosting, that looks like having people over, that looks like if there's a death or a new baby, that we cook. She sees mommy cooking a pasta bake for a new mom that's just had a baby, so she doesn't have to think about it.
Mm.
So that's love for us, and that's really, really important. And then the last one is fun. Like, fun doesn't have to be a holiday in the Maldives. Fun can be
Mm.
at home. Fun can be, like, we love to put party hats on sometimes when we have dinner. We love to, let's say Keith got his new job, we'll
Is
put the
that why
cake.
you had that bunny rabbit thing?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we were going to a homeschool meet, and I was like, let's put on some bunny ears. We went and got some pound shop pack of 3 for £1 bunny ears. That looks like when we go food shopping, Keith's chasing me down the aisle because whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, fun is an everyday part of our life. Like,
Girl, were you not rolling around in IKEA?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was really wrong. Yeah, I really wanted to do that video, but it just came out so badly. The vision was there.
You
The
guys,
execution was
please follow
poor.
her because she always has me cracking up. I'm like, what is Ashley doing today?
Yeah,
I
so
saw the people walking by like,
yeah, side eye. Yeah. So fun is just in everything. Like,
mm.
it doesn't have to always be so serious. Like, you can
Mm.
have fun. You can, like, I think we're quite serious as people. Like, not serious, I'd use the word intentional. And that can be quite overwhelming for people to see that I think about everything. But fun, like,
Yeah.
have fun, enjoy yourself. Like, it doesn't have to be so boring. Zaza did something funny. We get a cake, put a candle in it, and it doesn't have to be super expensive either. It just, do you want to blow out a candle? Put some candles, sprinkle some stuff all over, get a cannon, pop it. Had a long day. Just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice.
I feel like fun, from immigrant parents, I would have loved to see my parents have more fun. That's no, like my parents are like, they travel now, but it's just, I would have loved to see them belly laugh, like
Mm.
really just constantly belly laugh. Like
I
that's,
think survival mode will do that to you, though, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So yeah, those are our 3 family values, and I put some examples there of how it kind of plays out in our life.
How did you get to that place where you realize you want family values? Like you want
Yeah, that's a good question.
foundation.
I think we wanted to know how we were going to discipline our children, number one, and how we were going to discipline fairly. Keith love, that scripture which talks about like, don't do things to provoke your children, because people love the honor your mother and father.
I
They
love that
wanna,
one.
yeah,
That's like my Uno reverse card.
yeah. So we were like, okay, and we really want our children to be critical thinkers, like
Yeah.
present their case, like you better present your case in this house. So
Mhm.
we were like, oh, what if, we don't want to be like, because I said so. We want to be like, have a conversation. So we were like, okay, we could just be like, this is what we base our family on, these 3 things. Can you explain to me why you did this and how it falls into the category of our values? This is what we live by. This is our standards. Because I battle with this, that whole parent, like, you, at the end of the day, you are the parent, so there is going to be an aspect of that. It makes me feel a bit uncomfortable sometimes, but it is what it is. It is the role. So yeah, and then also just when we discipline them, we'll be like, you didn't meet the standards, sis. You weren't loving in that way. That was not like truthful.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times when you get, that wasn't the right thing, it's like, but why? What is this basis on? You said the
Then
word.
it's like, don't
Which
talk back.
scripture? Which scripture?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we wanted that, and also for them to be able to be like, no, that was loving and that was truthful, and I did that because it was fun, and I want them to be able to justify why they do things. That's really important for me. A lot of important things to me, apparently.
But you need them. You need the important things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just looking back down my notes because I really want to talk about some of these things. Yeah. This question here: how do you not get isolated in Western culture when you're doing homeschooling? Because
Okay.
it's already naturally quite isolating, I imagine. But talk more about your group and what you've done and everything like that.
So I think a lot more people.
Hey mothers, thank you so much for watching this podcast episode. Because our session was so long, it was 2 hours, we really got carried away talking about so much. I decided to actually break it down into 2 parts. So part 2 will be coming out next week, so stay tuned for that. Turn on the post notifications so YouTube will actually let you know when it's out. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. In the description down below, you'll see all the links to Ashley's pages as well as mine. Thank you so much. I hope this was a blessing to you. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.